Welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. I am Bukola Koka. The headlines. Senate extends 2022 budget implementation deadline from March the 31st to June the 30th, 2023 to enable implementation of key capital components. Nasarawa State joins oil-producing states as President Muhammadu Buhari flags off the drilling of crude oil in the state. Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson calls for stronger ties between Nigeria and the United Kingdom. Plus, former U.S. President Donald Trump indicted over a hush money payment made to an adult film star during the 2016 election. That's News Round in View. And we begin News Round with the Senate's extension of the implementation of the capital component of the 2022 budget from March the 31st to June the 30th, 2023. According to the upper chamber, the extension will enable the federal government implement key projects in the capital component of the 2022 budget and allow for the completion of ongoing projects critical to the current administration. It's a new legislative week in the National Assembly, and federal lawmakers in the Senate have economic bills before them for consideration and passage. President Buhari had requested the National Assembly to extend the period for implementation of the capital component of a 2022 Appropriation Act from March to June 30th, 2023. According to the Senate Majority Leader, the extension is to enable the executive implement key projects in the capital component of the 2022 budget and allow for the completion of ongoing projects critical to the current administration.
You will recall that the National Assembly extended the implementation of the 2022 Appropriation Act from 31st December 2022 to 31st March 2023. This was to allow full implementation of the budget, especially in the light of the 2022 supplementary budget approved in December 2022. The extension had allowed the MDAs to utilize a large proportion of funds related to them. However, significant amounts of funds remain with the MDAs and will require further extension to be fully expended.
The Senate suspends its standing rules to enable it to reach the bill for the first, second, and third time. With this extension, the 2022 appropriation bill is to run concurrently with the 2023 budget. The upper chamber also considers a bill to repeal the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation NDIC Act 2006 and reenact the NDIC Act 2023.
If we look at the NDIC Act,
speaking to Channels Television after the passage of the bill, the chairman of the Committee on Banking says the proposed legislation is intended to ensure appropriate board oversight over the management of the NDIC.
The NDIC law has been obsolete, so we find it extremely difficult to be able to push them to achieve their own goal. So we have made only very few amendments to the Act. About 5 clauses we've been able to amend. All those clauses is just to assist the NDIC achieve their goal and try as much as possible to protect the customers of our banks.
The chairman of the Committee on Banking further says there was consensus among key stakeholders regarding the necessity of the bill, and if assented to, the NDIC Act 2023 is expected to strengthen the nation's deposit insurance system. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News. The Federal Executive Council has approved over 24 billion naira for broadband infrastructure at airports, higher institutions and markets across Nigeria. This approval was given at this week's council meeting. But before the council meeting, the president swore in a former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Solomon Arase, as the new chairman of the Police Service Commission, as well as 5 board members of the Code of Conduct Bureau. Members of the Federal Executive Council converge on the chamber exactly 2 months before the end of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. There is a moment of silence in honor of former Chief of General Staff, Lieutenant General Oladipo Dia, who passed on Sunday, March 26 this year. Before the commencement of the council meeting, the president swears in former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Solomon Arase, as the chairman of the Police Service Commission.
And that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of Nigeria. So help me God.
5 new board members of the Code of Conduct Bureau are also sworn in. The substantive chairman of the PSC vows to entrench sanity into the police force.
The issue of discipline will be taken very seriously. I will not want a situation where civil transactions are criminalized. So any officer who, steps out of the line, there are going to be consequences. And that the IG himself will respect, the constitutional powers, the police force. So, there must be mutual respect between both parties, and I don't foresee any crisis anymore.
Among several memos approved by the council is the free provision of broadband in 20 selected airports, markets and universities, gulping 24.2 billion naira.
We have 20 airports, both domestic and international. And in addition, we also have 43 institutions of learning. So if you add, you will discover 63 institutions are going to benefit. The second memo is very similar to the first one, is the provision of broadband to some selected markets. We have developed the sustainability model so that even after the deployment, the maintenance will be very effective.
The council had in 2022 approved a similar memo for the provision of unlimited internet in 18 universities in the first phase of the project, to be completed in 5 months.
Thank you very much.
A total of 41.47 billion naira was also approved for the Ministry of Environment for the construction of a Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration in Rivers State. Well, this latest approval to the Environment Ministry certainly brings to the fore the question of progress, particularly in the implementation of the Ogoni cleanup exercise. With several litigations out of the way, the minister is now confident that the government is on track to hasten the process of remediation to fundamentally bring succor to the Niger Delta people. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News. Meanwhile, the federal government is accusing those it describes as some powerful persons at the SubNationals of encouraging the ongoing deforestation in the country. The Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abdullahi, apportioned the blame during the 69th weekly ministerial briefing held at the State House. Nigeria's pledge to the international community to halt deforestation as well as the protracted menace of charcoal production to meet an ever-expanding demand. This and other issues regarding the Ogoni land cleanup formed part of major conversations at this week's ministerial briefing. At the 69th briefing, the Minister of Environment illuminates the intractable task of curbing deforestation for charcoal production, indicating that the federal government's efforts are constantly frustrated by some interests.
The activities of people in the charcoal business, with all due respect, is being supported by a number of powerful people at the subnational level. So, and if we try to do some level of enforcement, they say, look, we own this territory. You are federal government. You cannot come and enforce your rules or policies on us. So that is part of what is the challenge in terms of, controlling these activities, But in spite of that, the task force is still there, going after some of them, on ad hoc basis, trying to find out who are involved, who licensed you, who we are supplying to, so we're doing our best to curb it as much as possible.
The president's ambitious target of planting 25 million trees by 2030 under its afforestation policy may be on course, but appears far-fetched. The minister assures this might not be the case for the cleanup of Ogoni land.
So at the moment we are back to the trenches. We are going to roll out the implementation plan. I can assure you that within the next couple of days, I assure you, Mr. President is going to do the flag up or the groundbreaking of the Center of Excellence for remediation, and then the power project and the hospital. Already the remediation of the shoreline is ongoing.
The Environment Minister equally asked state governments to live up to expectations by effectively utilizing ecological funds and stop politicizing adherence to the National Environmental Sanitation Policy. From the Presidential Villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Nasarawa State has joined the group of oil-producing states in the country after the president flagged off the drilling of crude oil in the state, which is in the Middle Benue Trial. President Muhammadu Buhari, who joined the spud-in ceremony virtually, said the discovery of hydrocarbon in commercial quantity in Nasarawa is the result of the exploration of oil in the frontier basins of the country by the NNPC Limited.
President Muhammadu Buhari virtually joins the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Niger National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, the Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, stakeholders from Nasarawa State, as well as other officials of the NNPCL, Inobi local government area of Nasarawa State.
Gas infrastructure that is ongoing in the country today, things like the AKK, I could go on and on.
The purpose for the gathering is the presidential flag-off of the spud of Eboye A well, the first oil well in the Middle Benue Trough, as the NNPCL continues to execute the mandate of President Muhammadu Buhari to explore the frontier basins of the country.
Today's occasion marks the official commencement of exploration drilling activities in the Middle Benue Trough. This is consistent with the commercial discoveries of hydrocarbons in the Kolmani area of Upper Benue Trough. I am pleased to note that activities are currently ongoing to develop the Kolmani petroleum discoveries to commercial production to add to the nation's considerable hydrocarbon assets.
Mr. Mele Kyari, while restating the resolve of the NNPCL to explore oil in other frontier basins of the country, is optimistic that the commencement of the oil drilling in Nasarawa State will add to the hydrocarbon reserves of the country.
The positive outcome of this campaign will contribute to national aspiration of increasing our hydrocarbon reserves from 37 billion barrels to 50 billion barrels in the short to the medium term, and increase our crude oil production to the target of 3 million barrels per day.
In his remarks, Governor Abdullahi Sule calls on the host communities to take ownership, just as he appeals to President Muhammadu Buhari and the NNPCL to see the possibility of having an integrated field development for the Eboye well.
I would like to appeal, Mr. President, that the NNPC should expedite the development of this field, while congratulating the NNPC once more on the concept of the integrated field development that was just carried out in Gombe.
Governor Sule, the GCEO, Mele Kyari, and other stakeholders officially flag off the commencement of drilling activities on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari. It is a historic and joyous moment for the people who anticipate that this gesture will enhance the development of the state and bring prosperity.
You're watching News Round. When we return, the People's Democratic Party replaces Senator Yocha Ayu, appoints Umar Damagum as acting national chairman of the party. Stay with us. Welcome back. The People's Democratic Party has finally named its Deputy National Chairman North, Mr. Umar Damagum, as the national chairman in acting capacity. He is replacing Senator Yocha Ayu, whom the court has restrained from acting as the national chairman of the party. This was announced to journalists by the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Mr. Debo Olugwagba, after a meeting of the party's National Working Committee in Abuja. Meanwhile, some members of the PDP from Mr. Ayu's ward have disclaimed his suspension, saying it did not follow the right channel.
These are executive committee members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, from Igoro Council Ward in Boko local government area of Benue State, the same ward as Senator Iyorchia Ayu. They are in the National Secretariat of the party to brief journalists on the alleged suspension of Senator Ayu from the ward.
The executive committee members have stated clearly that they have no knowledge about the letter and have not authorized anybody whatsoever to generate such mischievous letter on behalf of the executive committee. The purported signatures on the letter were forged and no member of PDP executive committee of Igoro Council Ward have signed that letter, nor caused to be signed on his or her behalf.
Moments after, some members of the National Working Committee of the PDP walk into the same hall. They have been holding an emergency meeting behind closed doors and have reached certain key decisions.
After a careful consideration of the court order and in line with Section 45, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the PDP as amended in 2017, the NWC resolved that the Deputy National Chairman North, His Excellency Ambassador Umar Ilia Damagum, assumes the national chairmanship of our party in acting capacity, with effect from today, Tuesday, 28th March 2023.
I will be here with you in an acting capacity pending the determination of what is to come soonest from the courts.
Mr. Iyorchia Ayu was suspended a week after the general election for alleged anti-party activities, including failure to pay his annual subscription fees and failure to vote during the election, following which a Benue State High Court in Makurdi ordered him to stop acting as national chairman. However, the PDP National Working Committee calls for calm among the leaders and members of the party. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Not less than 781 suspects have been arrested for various electoral offences during the 2023 general elections. The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, made this known in Abuja while meeting with senior police officers from the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory at the force headquarters.
The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, is meeting with senior police officers from across the country at the police headquarters Abuja to review the performance of the police during the 2023 general elections. The elections witnessed violence in some parts of the country, including disruption of voting, ballot snatching, voter intimidation, and attack on security agencies, including the reported attack on some personnel of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in Kaduna State. The Niger election violence tracker shows that between February 23 and March 20, 2023, over 200 violent events were recorded with over 600 fatalities.
For prosecution in accordance with the Electoral Act 2022.
However, the Inspector General of Police says some arrests have been made.
Feedbacks so far received across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT indicates that a total of 489 major electoral infractions leading to the arrest of a total of 781 offenders were recorded nationally, both during the presidential and the National Assembly elections and the governorship and the State House of Assembly elections. While not less than 66 firearms of various descriptions were recovered from electoral adversaries.
Besides the violence recorded during the elections, the outcome of the polls has continued to generate controversies in some parts of the country, including the nation's capital, as groups and political parties stage protests. The police are concerned about comments being made by some political actors.
I must firmly warn that the Nigeria police and other security agencies shall not tolerate the resort to incitement or any act designed to threaten our national security. They are therefore advised in the strongest possible terms to henceforth draw back on current attempts to engender tension within the national security space to avoid attracting appropriate law enforcement response.
The police also intend to use this meeting to examine their policing strategies as part of efforts to enhance security in the country. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Away from security matters now, former United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has made a case for a stronger, mutually benefiting relationship between Nigeria and his country. Mr. Johnson stated this while speaking at the 16th Osigwe Ayam Osigwe lecture series held in Lagos. The lecture series also had in attendance other thought leaders who share their experiences and perspectives on human capital development in the country.
It's a high-profile event attended by national and global leaders. The caliber of guests on and off the podium speaks volume. Former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyauku, President-elect Bola Tinubu, represented by former Deputy Governor Femi Pedro, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, represented by his deputy, Obafemi Hamzat, and other important personalities are in attendance.
It is important to note at the start of the proceedings here today that the lecture series is not just an adventure in intellectual rhapsody. It is not a memorial escapade to glorify an individual. No, it is an adventure within the bounds of the submission of Emmanuel Onyechere Oshigwe Anyam Oshigwe on how we can vastly realize a better world order.
The Lagos State Deputy Governor believes the topic is a clarion call and a challenge that must be taken up by all. He enjoins Nigerians to be patriotic, avoid actions and statements that may demarcate the country.
As a philosopher once said, the best way to kill the brain is to talk without evidence. And as a people in our country, it is also important that we don't continue to demean our country, always criticizing everything that is done without providing solutions.
For elder statement, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Anyauku, countries and leaders must build on the comprehensive welfare of the people to develop their citizens' potentials.
I believe that if we are to effectively pursue the theme of this 16th session of the Anyam Osigwe lecture series, consideration of the comprehensive welfare of the people should be the bedrock of policies and actions by politicians and leaders across the world.
Former United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who is still a 7th member of the British Parliament, takes the stage. He speaks on the diversity and mobility of ideas as the bedrock of developing talents and unleashing potential.
And I know that you are building wonderful mass transit systems and a metro. How's it going? Fantastic. What I want to say to you today, in an absolutely unashamed way, as the former chairman of Transport for London, let's do it together. When I was mayor of London, thank you, Anyam Osigwe family. When I was mayor of London, I increased the capacity on the tube by about 30%, and I built Crossrail, the Elizabeth line, the biggest engineering project in Europe. So I know you're doing the first leg, but let's do the rest of it together. Don't do it with the Spanish, don't do it with the French, don't do it with the Chinese. Do it with Transport for London. Nigeria could be a renewable superpower as well as a massive producer of oil and gas. Let's deepen that partnership and let's do more together to unleash the potential of all the people of both our countries. So thank you very much. Here's to Nigeria, UK. Thank you to the Osigwe Anyamasingwe Foundation, and thank you all for your kind attention this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson is one of the world leaders who have been invited for the lecture series to share their thoughts on various issues of global importance with the benefits of their experiences and perspectives. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
And finally, on News Round, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury over a hush money payment made to an adult film star during the 2016 election. This makes Mr. Trump the first ex-president to face criminal charges in America's history, even as he makes another run for the White House. The charges arising from an investigation led by Democratic Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg could reshape the 2024 presidential race. But Trump previously said he would continue campaigning for the Republican Party's nomination if charged with a crime. And that's it on News Round this time. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.